Welcome to Wendy's here in downtown Coffeyville. Oh. We good? 1, 2, 3. There we go. Welcome to Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shay Neal. A little turbulence getting off the runway. It's all good. Happy to be joined here by Nick Dobler. We have a big coaches show for you tonight, 6 until 7. We'll be joined by Coach Dobler for about 20 minutes, and then Coach Turner and Coach Herkelman will wrap up the show tonight. So 3 sports in 60 minutes. That's what the Red Raven Coaches Show is all about. I mean, this is primetime television here at Wendy's.
Let's go, Red Raven Nation.
Absolutely.
Hour long.
Absolutely. And, Coach, we're getting it started talking about a fun topic because we're talking about your group winning the Montgomery County Classic over Independence 24-7.
That was a big one. That was a big win.
Coach, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. We'll talk about it again with Butler coming up, but every single game in this league is important. Garden City, Hutchinson, they're all good teams. They're all teams you want to beat. They're all teams that you have history with, but it feels like Independence and Butler, you get a little more amped up for those games just because of the history of that. You know, obviously you have the geographic rival with Independence, and then you have the Butler-Coffeyville rivalry, almost even more fun for me because it feels like any single sport, from volleyball to basketball to football to soccer to who does Coffeyville always seem to run into in their quest for a title? The Butler Grizzlies, and that's what makes that rivalry so fun.
Yeah, that's the craziest part is we're sitting here talking about trying to win a championship, and it goes back to the Butler-Coffeyville game.
Yep.
You know, the two that I know growing up, that winner of that game wins the conference.
Yep.
So, also the other craziest part is last time we did this situation where we go into last game of the year to win it, it was Indy, fall 21. You know, my first full season here, and you know, last game of the year, it's just us two, and winner wins the conference, and it's Montgomery County rival. So it's kind of new to this. You know, new to this.
I was going to say this wasn't the plan. Obviously, this was a rescheduled game. But I know they're sitting in the Jayhawk commissioner's office, just kind of smiling, rubbing their hands together, like we're glad it worked out this way.
Oh yeah, there's definitely going to be some spice there.
No doubt about it. And Coach, I mean, obviously, the way that the chips or the way that the dominoes fall right now is you beat Butler next weekend, and you're co-champs. And if Butler wins, obviously they're outright champions. But something that can still change that obviously nobody has control over, if Garden City is able to knock off Hutchinson, which they are at home, that's a long trip, something that we've heard Coach Liker say in the past, that's a really tough game to play, an afternoon game in Garden City.
Yep.
If Hutch goes down, that Butler-Coffeyville game becomes winner gets the championship.
Yeah, ultimately, and then even it gives us an opportunity for a national to get back into the national playoff conversation.
So there's some stuff to keep an eye on this weekend, even though the Ravens aren't playing for Red Raven Nation. You know, we're in the part of the season. I always talk about it when we get to like late August in baseball, and when you start scoreboard watching. We're in scoreboard watching season.
For sure. This weekend will be a telltale because there's other people playing that are ahead of us, nationally ranked too, and kind of see that it's really where that is, but ultimately we still have to control our destiny next week.
Absolutely. Coach, we saw Steven Robinson get back out there on the field against Independence and really looked good. Really looked like he was running the ball hard physically. It looked like he had that burst that he had early in the season, which I think, that shows signs that finally getting past that injury that he's been dealing with, but had the big 33-yard touchdown run, which in a game where you only had one offensive touchdown.
How about that run?
I know.
I mean, he trucked the dude. That was
one cut outside.
And then went, and there he went right before half again. We're back-to-back games where we kind of put up a score right before half in a 2-minute drill.
Well, it's fun. It's kind of funny, Coach, that sometimes it doesn't. They say don't make opinions too quickly. But Steven Robinson scored a 60-yard touchdown on the first play of the season.
Uh-oh.
We were up in the press box.
We needed him back.
Well, we were up in the press box, and as soon as that play happened, it's like, well, there's our big play guy.
Yes. No, I think the confidence came back more. He had to take a couple weeks off with the injury, and it was a different ankle. It was like one leg was this, and then it was this one. It came into that one, and yes, it's very nice. It's about that time where, it's other crazy as I was sitting there at practice is Carson. I know he's not going to play, but he's out of the boot.
Nice.
So
good to hear.
Hey, guys are starting to get back healthy again.
That's good to see. Absolutely.
So, yes.
And, obviously, without getting into too much detail, because I know we're keeping things on the down low for this game coming up next weekend, but another guy that hasn't played in a couple weeks that I know you would love to have back in the rotation is Trey Jones, guy that was your lead back for the first half of the season. What can you tell us about Trey's recovery without maybe telling us his status for the game? Is he continuing to progress?
If we were in the NFL, you'd put down questionable.
Game time
He's
decision.
actually able to run around and do stuff and just progress through that injury. We didn't really think he could probably be playing, but we knew it was going to be right around that time frame as far as if he was, when you do get to come back. So it's one of those, we'll see, honestly. Yeah. But if not, we got Steve,
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kelly's still going.
That's right. And here's this is something I've always thought about at the high school level, because I've said one of the toughest jobs for a high school football coach is when you have a star player that you know is going to play college football. Because how do you find that balance of you need that kid to win games, but you also don't want to run that kid into the ground and potentially damage his future. I know it's different at the collegiate level, but say hypothetically that Trey Jones is able to play, but only able to give you like 15 snaps. Would you evaluate that as like all hands on deck, let's get him out there, or would you think more about Trey Jones after this coming up weekend?
That was my number one concern when we did kind of get the time frame of when he would be back, and he was and that's the nice part is you got kids and you got to be smart.
Right.
They're competitive. They don't care. They're living in the now moment. They don't really think about the future, especially junior college-wise, because their future is still unknown. They're not signed. They're not committed.
Right.
This is their last year. Trey's, sophomore year. This is it. So he was already like, I'm going to go. I don't care what the doctors.
Yeah.
That's just him. And I'm like, look, if we get it diagnosed, we got to be. I was kind of being dad, mom, all that with him, still being smart. So there is a fine line.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I saw Trey after Raven Madness about 2 weeks after the injury, and I said, how's the shoulder feeling? And he's like, I'm good. I think I'm going to be out there soon. I'm like, really? I'm like, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And here we are 3 weeks later. But like you said, I mean, these guys are hyper competitive. You don't become a college football player without having that that hyper competitive side. And I'm sure if Trey thinks he can play 10, 15 snaps, he'll be in your office begging to play those 10, 15 snaps.
Yeah, and if he is healthy, if you ever get in those situations, I mean, you're big-time players that have put in the work, and have got you into this situation, they deserve a right to have a chance to step on the field. But we also still have to be smart, and they have to be in shape and condition. They can't hurt the team either.
Right.
So.
Coach, obviously, like I said, we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about Butler next show. But I want to talk a little bit before we kind of move on to the team as a whole. In that Independence game, of course, one offensive touchdown, but man, it was like a lightning quick strike where right at the end of that first half, in 2 plays, a quick slant to Anthony Winson, slips a tackle, goes for 36 yards, and the next play, the 32-yard touchdown by Steven Robinson. What was different? Did you see something different? Did Coach Ortiz see something different? Did it just happen to be a broken coverage? What was different? Because Independence's defense had a good day. What was that, that 2-play sequence that really changed things?
I mean, the pass play was a design play that that Coach Ortiz, knew, and he likes to pick on certain defenders. That's what you kind of do in the pass is, okay, how do you hit their zone or hit their coverage or defenders, and so it was already a design play. It just, happened to break, and then we still got time on the clock, and our offense, we're still running the ball, and a lot of people forget about 2 minutes. You can still run the football, and it doesn't eat that much clock if you can get on it fast. And so it was just one of those calls that he's done, and we practice. He practiced it before, calling it in 2 minutes. I know Coach Eldridge doesn't like as much 2-minute drills, and when we're good in practice, and it's running the ball. Even though we're, you got time, you got timeouts, all that stuff. You people don't think about it. Say, you just got to throw it all the time.
I thought it was kind of funny that how competitive your coordinators are with each other. Where we were talking to Coach Ortiz last week on the show, and he even said something along the lines of like, Coach Eldridge, he's a pain in the butt to go up against in practice. His schemes are impressive. I'm like, that's probably a pretty good sign for your defense.
Yeah, no, I've been in that role. Sometimes it's been me coordinating versus the head coach.
Yeah.
So a little bit more. You got to show a little bit more respect. But that competitiveness, when you call in practice, it's just like players. They want to turn up against each other.
Yep.
And they want to go just like treat it like a game. I mean, you don't just flip a switch. You're competitors. So
that's right, Coach. Obviously, a theme of the last month or so has been your defense. It seems like we talked about it. You look at the numbers, you look at some of the stats, and it almost looks like in the landscape of the Jayhawk Conference, kind of a middle of the pack defense. But I think obviously if you dig deep into some of those big plays that they've made, those block kicks that they've made on special teams, those takeaways, those defensive touchdowns, setting up your offense in the red zone, it seems very similar in a lot of ways to me from what I heard about the 2022 defense, in the sense that just a lot of guys that see ball, get ball. And that feels like, as the year goes on, your team with KJ, with Kyler, with LJ Hall coming on in the last month or so, you just got a lot of guys that see the ball and go get the ball.
Yeah, and this ain't anything new for me. I'm just being real. Like when you finally, you preach it all the time. I mean, from day one, you preach turnovers. I want 3. You get me 3 turnovers every game. I don't care. You step on the field, you're getting 3. And you do circuits and you teach it and all that stuff in pursuit. And again, they're freshmen out there trying to play ball early, and then all of a sudden, here comes the confidence. We can block a kick now. Yes, we were trying to teach you it from the very beginning.
4 in a row.
Yeah, like you can now do it. So now they want to even more.
Yeah.
Now and again, it's just confidence. Like once you really get it, and it's contagious. Once somebody does it, somebody else is going to do it.
Right.
So it's one of those things. This ain't new to me. As far as seeing it, it's nice seeing it because finally you can see the kids really believe they want to go do it, and then they're doing it. So.
Yeah. It's interesting to me that you say, obviously, the freshman kind of waiting for that big moment, that almost welcome to college football moment. And it's a guy who's made plenty of plays this year, but it felt like Lonnie Burt really had that welcome to college football moment, that undercutting that little stick route, pick 6, really gave your team a huge jolt because it was a 10-7 game in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
That one play, Independence would have the lead, and Lonnie just read that play to perfection, and that it felt like your team didn't look back after that moment. But obviously to see a guy like Lonnie, who really has made an impact since his first couple weeks as a Raven, have that moment that ultimately might have won your team the game, has to be pretty cool for you to see as a guy that's watched him develop all year.
Yeah, was playing well early, then got hurt. Iowa Western got hurt and been down for a couple weeks, and he's still working back. He's still not 100%. And so, yes, getting him back out there and getting him back in the flow, but we'd love to see him at least 95, 100% like he was before because he was pretty good for us then. And, that play, yes, was a game changer.
And, Coach, I think, obviously, we talked about it with Coach Eldridge last week, that early in the year I said I thought the strength of this defense was the defensive line. And then a couple weeks later, I said, well, maybe it's the secondary led by Jaden and Kyler. And now in recent weeks, I've said, well, maybe it's the linebackers because your 3 main linebackers are really playing their best football right now. But I think, the fact that I've thought of all 3 position groups just means it's a good defense. Mm-hmm. But I know you being a guy that, has seen a lot of linebackers in your day. And I know that there's a good rotation. We talked to Christian Sicard. Jack Lanning plays down there. We have some other guys as well.
Coach Eldridge has stolen him from the defensive back room.
Yeah.
He's claimed him.
He's claimed him.
But he's a linebacker.
Officially claimed him.
Yeah.
But just to see what, Lonnie, what KJ's done this year, I think KJ, there's an argument that KJ's maybe had the biggest growth from freshman to sophomore out of anyone on the team. And then Marquise Lane Owens, we talked about him earlier this year, changing positions, like right before the season started. And now he's a 2-time Jayhawk Conference Defender of the Week.
Yes, it's nice. You're talking about so many positions, so many players that are doing well. That means we're winning games. They're making plays out there.
That's right. Coach, obviously, like I said, we'll talk more about Butler coming up around the corner. But obviously, without getting too far ahead, we talked about it a little bit.
We can talk Butler. I'm all.
We can. But
that's all we're focused on.
I got to save some stuff for next week, right?
I get it.
But I think that I talked about this a little bit with DJ Jackson and with Jaleel Boast a little bit last week, LJ Hall as well. But this is what you start playing football and start coaching football for. This kind of scenario, your rival in their house, you get a chance to go on the road and be spoiler, ruin their championship. I think that, and we talk, I loved what DJ said in the moment because we were talking about Independence and Butler. I said, you end the season with your 2 biggest rivals. What does that mean? And he said, bring it. We're ready. And I think that, you start playing football, it's 5 years old to have a game like this where it's like we go into the team that we don't like's house, and if we win, we're champions.
Oh, you can't write it any better. It is, it's like, here's the Super Bowl. You've been down, like World Series, Freddie Freeman talking about in the backyard, walk-off home run in the World Series. This is what you dream of. The nice part is hearing guys like that, they don't know Coffeyville rivals. Like, they're just here, they're learning it, but they've bought in.
Yep.
They understand it now.
Yep.
They get what they have to do. Like this is Independence, this is Montgomery County, and really it's become a rival since last chance U. Like I tell them all the time, like Coffeyville football has dominated Indy over and over throughout the years. It's like 82 to something 16 I don't know, but I'm like little brother. We're big brother. Mm-hmm. They're little brother. Like I know I even played there.
Right.
Not trying to tell a lot of people, but. I get it. Like, it's time to put them back in their place. I've only beat Indy, I think, once. That was for the Fall 21 deal.
That's right.
And they got it. They understood what they needed to go do. And it was hard. I mean, Indy's a good team. And it was a hard win, hard fought, all the way to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, 2 more things for you. Appreciate you taking some time here, and we look forward to that Butler game, of course, coming up next Saturday. But it kind of jolted my memory that I wanted to talk about DJ Jackson. And I know we've talked about different guys on this defense emerging and having big moments throughout the season.
I'm going to cut you off real quick and just say if we could have put him at DN where he was this whole time, the whole season. I mean, he has the way he's playing right now because since we really did be able to move him to DN. I mean, we would be talking about Defensive Player of the Year.
Right. Well, that's what Coach Eldridge was saying, too. The first thing he said was credit to his versatility because he has played well everywhere we've put him.
Yeah.
Had to slide him in a little bit, play him at that kind of 3-tech spot, even a little deep
zero. He was playing a zero a lot.
Yep.
You know, when we started with this 3-man front, we were putting him at the 0.
Yep.
But, again, working through really an injury occurred. You know, Cameron Cyprian. Getting injured. All right, we got to put DJ there, you know, and then even out of base and all that, and then look what he was doing. But that just shows you too, like he knows, like I'm way better at this, and this is what I am. But you know, the unselfishness, he moved to that position when we needed him to get the best on the field.
And it almost feels like it's not just the talent with him, Coach, where you see after he gets a sack or after he blocks a kick or has one of those big plays, that this team really rallies around his energy and the emotion he brings to the field for those big moments. And we were talking about it up in the press box. There's a lot of good defensive linemen in this league, a lot of good edge rushers in this league. I can't think of one that's been better in the last month than DJ Jackson. And you pair Fred Giles on the other side as him, I wouldn't want to be an offensive tackle going up against that D-line.
No, those two are pretty good for us. Really good.
Coach, last thing I have for you, and appreciate you taking some time with us, but we talked something that I'm sure you know, he's a legend of CCC, Dirk Andrews. I was talking to Dirk the other day, and Dirk made a good point, and we talked about this a little bit with Coach Ortiz last week, but when you play a team like Independence, like we saw with a couple ICC players getting ejected, a little bit of pushing and shoving after the game was over, when you play a team like Butler, there's going to be some words said, there's going to be some things that inevitably happen.
Oh, yeah.
But how do you – I think there's a way to use those emotions and use that fire to play good football and to be fired up for that moment. But how do you make sure that it's something that Coach Ortiz said is, this could be like, kind of like an old school Miami, Florida State environment. And I think that'd be really fun.
That's because he's a Florida State guy.
Right. But at the same time, obviously, you have smart guys in that locker room. But knowing that you got to pull back a little bit and make sure that, the season doesn't potentially end on something that can be prevented.
And that's where you talk about DJ. I mean, one of their guys got ejected because a guy staying on their sideline just punched him in the face as he was over there finishing the play or whatever. Mm-hmm. Just something like that that really messes with you. Like, what in the world? This guy, random guy I'm not even going against on the football field. Just hit me, and it takes a lot. But growth, we've had stuff in camp. We've had instances where you battle and you get after it between the whistles and a little extra stuff happens. And we've been talking about, so it's really nice that it is paying off, that they are controlling themselves to not be the ones getting caught. That makes sense. Because I'm going to be real, there's a lot of talking going out there that our guys are just as guilty.
Yeah, no.
But I think it gets them playing harder, if that makes sense.
And that's almost kind of the comparison we drew for it. As I said, look, there's guys on this defense, there's guys on this football team that I have talked to enough to know that they're saying some stuff.
At
the same time, they respect this team enough, they respect their teammates enough, they respect these coaches enough to know, look, I can go to a certain level and I got to pull it back.
And it started in camp.
Yeah.
Literally, we've had instances like that. I remember first time we go inside, and of course, O-line, D-line just get after it, and we break them up, and then I just have to light them up and say, this is what you don't do.
Yep.
That's coaching. That's setting them to a standard I want you guys to play as hard as possible between the whistles with effort. And, if you're really getting after somebody, okay, talk a little trash, but don't make it where you lose what you're trying to do or hurt the team.
Right.
Because ultimately, and I think that's what they're understanding, what they are processing. Even in the 22 year, I remember that year, that first 3 or 4 games, we are getting penalties out the wazoo, just stupid penalties too, 15-yarders after plays. And luckily we're winning, and then some of them. I remember right after Dodge one time, that it was just like, what are y'all doing? It's going to hurt you.
Right.
And then they had to learn it. Then they realized after a couple losses, all right, it can hurt us.
Right.
And penalties, I thought we've been doing a hell of a job keeping our penalties down.
Yeah.
We only had 5. I think we was under maybe 5 or 6 versus Dodge too.
Yeah.
And that's
and,
something.
And ICC ended with like 13-14. So
yeah, they had like 14 for like 147.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So yeah, you keep that penalty number under 7, you're in pretty good shape.
Turnovers and penalties.
Yep.
They cost you. They're self-inflicted wounds.
That's right. Well, we got plenty more to talk about with this game coming up with Butler next Saturday, but we have a big jam-packed show for you. Coach, thanks so much for the time, and this will not be our last conversation.
I could be here all hour with you.
I was going to say, we could.
Yeah, no issues.
Right.
I'm excited.
That's right.
I am excited for
well,
Saturday.
Coach Turner and his girls are 5-0. They've earned the right to talk a
They
little bit.
definitely do. I cannot take his time.
Let's take a 2-minute break. Coach Turner joins us next year on the Red Raven Coaches Show. Coach's Show here on US 98. I'm Shay Neal. Big thanks to Coach Nick Dilber for joining us at the start of the show to talk about, of course, his team 8-2, top 10 in the nation. They'll square off with Butler next weekend for a chance to win a Jayhawk Conference title for the first time in 4 years. Another coach chasing a Jayhawk Conference title joins us now, and Tony Turner in his 6th year at the helm of the Lady Ravens. Coach, how you doing?
Doing good. Had a good practice today, and after a big win last night, so
That's right.
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah, and obviously, we talked about it a little bit last night after the game, but got to be pretty happy to be going into conference play next week, finishing off your non-conference slate 5-0. I mean, you can't do any better than that.
No. I thought we stepped up and a little better than what I expected.
Coach, something that really I want to talk about because I think it fits my kind of narrative that I've been building about this team. And this team, the early kind of way that I've described this team is just a well-knit group that everybody does a little bit of everything, it feels like. Where we talked, I looked at the box score today, this afternoon, and I saw that Karis and Marika, who, maybe even a week ago, you might have said were your 2 best scorers. Well, they combined to shoot 4 of 29 last night in Miami. And you won a game by 28 points. And I think that says a lot, Coach, about how your team rebounds the basketball, how your team defends, how your team it really just has been so aggressive in the passing lanes this year, and how, something that you've been preaching since I first met you is don't let your offense dictate your defense. And it feels like we're 5 games into this year, and your team has already kind of bought into that motto where their defense has been strong every single night, even when there's stretches where the offense maybe takes a step back.
Well, they always say defense travels, offense don't travel, and this team is starting to buy into that a little bit. And we do a lot of drills on the defensive end, and they're buying into just being one. And I always tell them we're only as strong as our weakest link. We need everybody to be able to step up. And I know teams will take away certain things, and we just the next man up. When they take one thing away, let's the next person step up and make a play for us. And I thought this team is doing exactly what we're talking about.
Well, Coach, when two of your better sophomores have a tough night scoring the basketball, you need a player to step up. And I know you were excited about this freshman coming in when you first landed her, but Carly Parker had a fantastic game last night, 19 points, I believe 14 of those or so were in the second half. Really just was seeing the rim well in that second half, was getting out in transition, making good passes, finishing at the rim, and we saw, I think, maybe the best half of basketball of Carly Parker so far.
You know, Carly plays hard every day in practice. I use her as an example in our practices. Like, she plays with pace. You know, I always say you play the way you practice, and that's how she practices hard every day, and it's showing on that court that she has great stamina. She's smart. I know she's leading the conference in assist to ratio. I can go on and on about Carly Parker. She's been a sponge. She comes up to the office, sits and talks to us about just basketball and life. And, I mean, she's just a joy to coach.
Well, and it's almost, I mean, obviously I know that you and Coach McBride and everybody has talked about the close-knit group that your teams have had, where players go up all the time and hang out with Sierra's son and hang out with the coaches in between classes and stuff like that. But I feel like if there was any player that you would want to be up there having those conversations and, you know, building those relationships, it's probably your point guard, because it's almost like, you know, making a comparison to football, having that relationship with your quarterback, where they go out there and it's almost like having a coach on the field and having a coach on the court. And we saw that a lot with Tatana, where she almost felt like a coach on the court at times. And I think it's encouraging that we've seen already just so much potential from Carly just 5 games into her career.
Oh, she's a sponge. I mean, she loves basketball. As soon as we get done, you know, last night she's like, "You got that iPad? You got a code? And I can look at the game." And, you know, she said, I'm driving, and she's just talking about the game as she's watching it. She's been a great kid. She's a great kid. I can go on and on, man, about how hard she works, what kind of teammate she is. I mean, she's constantly talking to her teammates about doing certain things. I mean, if they're down, she's picking them up, and she's that prototypic type of point guard that all coaches would love to have.
No doubt about it. Coach, we've seen a lot of freshmen that have made an impact for your team this year, but two that I think really have stepped in and been just impact players right off the bat have been Aspen Clarkson and Hallie Kitchen. And Aspen, obviously the first couple games of the year, was one of your better scorers. She still is on this team, third in scoring. But we saw what she can do. She's been a great free throw shooter for you, brings some good size, really a versatile defender, versatile player that you can put on the wing, that you can put in the post, that brings just a lot of different looks. And it just felt like Aspen kind of stepped out there on opening night after not practicing for a week, after getting banged up in a scrimmage, and just looked the part right off the bat. And the same thing with Hallie Kitchen. I thought Hallie looked really aggressive last night offensively, putting shots up, really attacking, getting to her spots. And I think that's promising as well, because that could add potentially another scorer to this rotation. I like what I've seen from both of those players so far.
And they're both figuring this college game out. And, you know, we'll start with Hallie. Hallie she too works extremely hard, and she too is constantly in the office talking to us about basketball, just telling jokes. I mean, just building that bond that all coaches like to have with their players, and it's showing on the court, like just the confidence level that she has, the decision making she's making, and just being a good teammate and being coachable, and she's doing a great job for us. And then Aspen is, you know, she's kind of quiet, and you know, folks, she hadn't even come close to her potential, how good she can be and how good she is, and she just handles her business. She's real quiet, and we're on her about talking more, but she's just getting more and more out of her shell, learning the offenses, learning how we play defense, and she too is doing great for us.
No doubt about it, Coach. And you know, we've talked about this team really playing some great defense to start the season, holding your opponents to 29% shooting while giving up 42 points a game in non-conference play. But I think, you know, and everybody has to play good defense to have those numbers and those stats. But I think the two players that have really impressed me, I talked to Coach McBride about this after opening night, Narika Welch and Karis Washington. And I think it's because, and we talked about it a little bit pregame before the second game of the year, I think it's something that we haven't really seen as much with your previous teams, that you have two players that are 5'10", 5'11", that can go out there, guard the point guard at a very high level, go out there, guard the 6'2" center at a very high level. You can put Narika or Karis on anyone 1 through 5, and they're going to play rock-solid defense for you. They're going to do pretty good on the glass, and they're just going to give you valuable minutes, and that's just such a nice luxury to have this early in the season.
Oh, yes. That's we compared this team and last year's team and the year before that, and this team is a little bigger. This team does guard a little better. Don't shoot it quite as well as that team yet, and they will. They'll start shooting it better. We have been focusing more on the defensive side, and those two are buying in. And, in fact, before I came here today, Karis was in the office, and we were talking about this year's and last year's team, and I was like, you've been a joy to coach this year. We bumped heads a lot last year and just trying to get her out her own way, and now she's being more receptive to it and just being more coachable, and she's just seeing the benefit from being that way. And, Dorica's, her biggest challenge is just the language barrier. She does speak English pretty good, but just the confidence level of just expressing herself, and she's getting better and better at that, and she, too, is just a great teammate, works hard, very versatile. If I want her to guard a post, she's going to guard a post. She want to guard a point guard. I mean, she got great vision. I mean, she's been a big aspect to this team.
No doubt she has. And, you talk about Karis, and I think if we talk to Karis, she'd probably say that, there's been some opportunities she's had this year on offensive rebounds and on looks inside that she probably would tell you she should have converted on. And, her field goal percentage so far through 5 games sitting at about 33%. But just the kind of player that she is, Coach, where she's just such a natural slasher, and so many times we see her beat her defender one-on-one off the dribble and get that step and get inside, or crash the offensive glass and get a look on a second chance bucket. Karis's points, I think, inevitably are going to go up. Her field goal percentage is inevitably going to go up. And the way she rebounds the basketball and the spots on the floor she finds herself in, I think she could be a real double-double threat for this team in conference play.
Oh, she will. We had a meeting today about just her shot selection and with the confidence side of it, and what's a good three, what's a not good three, when's a good power move, when not, and I had her ears, I had her eyes, and I just said, I promise you it'll help you with your confidence. Right now I think you're second guessing what you do, and I need you to just go in there and play basketball. Go do what you do best. Go get rebounds, make mid-range shots. They leave you wide open for a three. If your feet are set, shoot it, knock it down, and don't go out seeking for it. Just go out and play the game like you know how to play. And she's like I said, I had her eyes, had her ears, and you'll see. She'll get those points back up.
Coach, you kind of hinted at it with Karis and her ability to knock down jump shots, but that's another thing about this team that I think is such a weapon that I think will come into play as the year goes on is your forwards have good size and play good defense and can score down in the post, but they also can spread the floor on the offensive end, where we saw Alexis Parker hitting some jump shots last night. We know Karis Washington can go out beyond the arc. Aubrey Highshaw can go out and knock down a jump shot. Lena Yulee can knock down a jump shot. So you have these 6-foot forwards, these 6'1" forwards that can attack you down low, or they can go out on the perimeter, stretch out your defense, and allow somebody like Karis or somebody like Carly to get into the paint, without that interior defender.
No question on that. We are, like I said, a little bigger than we were in the past, and those kids can do multiple things. I mean, that's what's been the confusion as a coaching staff. What is our niche? What offense should we run? And, we're starting to figure out, spread the court, let them try to get downhill, spot up, make plays. And we do have some sets where we can play power ball because, Narika knows how to post up. Karis knows how to post up. Aubrey's very skilled at the post. Lexus is getting better, being more patient down there. Then you got Lena. Lena's starting to get used to how we play, and she was at Northwest Florida where they won a national title, and she sat out a year because she tore her ACL, but she too was getting faster, just liking Coffeyville, and just getting better and better every day.
No doubt. And you talked about Alexis Parker, and I think the first couple games of the year I was almost a little surprised with I expected maybe more offensive output from Alexis, and I think, we saw at the end of that game with Haskell, a couple plays drawn up for Alexis, back to back, right? And at the end of that game, just I think kind of get her going, get her confidence up a little bit. And, Coach, I think we saw the most confident Alexis Parker of the year last night. She was out there taking jump shots. She was getting the ball in the post, knowing when to pass, knowing when to attack. Obviously kind of a weird play to single out, but one of my favorite, plays of the night was she went down for a loose ball, I think took an elbow to the face because she went to the bench bleeding, so I'm assuming she caught an elbow. But just, the fact that she left the floor, so, got that attended to, back out there 3 minutes later, that's the kind of toughness you want from a forward down there. And I think we saw, Alexis take that step of like, look, I'm a second-year forward in this league. I can go out there and, dominate a game.
Oh, Alexis is our captain, and she don't mind using her voice. She'll say something when something ain't right, and we talked today. So, yeah, Coach Turner, you got me out of my comfort zone doing that stuff. But no, she likes doing it. She's working hard every day. She takes my coaches. We're on her about slowing down, but she's a very coachable kid, very approachable kid, a leader. You know how I say, I'm gonna make you my daughter one day. It's because she's just such a fun kid to be around. And the big girl they had at NEO, she had 22 points against Three Rivers, and on the way up there, she go, we're going to take one of those twos off those 22 points and just hold her to 2 points, and she didn't score last night. And you want to talk about a force. You saw her say that girl was a big old force there, and Alexis did a great job. And she had help from defense, but she did a great job on that kid. That's a pretty powerful kid.
No doubt about it. Coach, before we start talking just a little bit about conference games coming up next week, last player I kind of want to touch on here tonight, and it's a player that I was informed used my words as, to defend herself against you, but Ava Baker. And I think that, just something that stood out to me about Ava, I know she only played about 8 minutes last night, but I just think that what she brings, her tools that she brings to the floor, is just such an asset for this team. Where I know the defense is still improving, but 5'10", it's somebody where no disrespect to Kylie Ortiz or Bailey Lehman, but she's got a 4-inch height advantage on them, and it's a little easier to put her against a 2 or a 3 or maybe even a 4 in certain situations. But I think what really is interesting to me about Ava is the quickness she can get a shot off, Coach. You drew up a play last night. She didn't even hit the shot. But I saw her come off a screen. She had about half a second of space. And she got the shot off, and it looked like a good look, and it looked like it was going in. And I'm like, man, that's a weapon. If you can get a player off a screen that just has a sliver of a chance to get a shot off and can get that shot off, and you feel like it's going in, especially with the slashers you have on this team and the posts you have on this team, I think Ava's just going to continue to grow that role as we move further and further along.
She's very versatile. She plays the 2 through 4, and sometimes we put her at the 4. She's learning all the spots, and you're right about that shot last night. And of course, that's it. How'd you miss that shot? And just to give her a hard time, me and Ava go back and forth all the time. And, we have a great friendship. I mean, we talk trash to each other, and I'm like, you missed that shot? She goes, Coach, my feet wasn't right. And I didn't know I'd had that much time. And she too gets better. She gets in that gym every day and shoots. She understands her role. We talked about it before the beginning of the year. And, she is a kid that we're counting on to continue. She's got to get her defense better. And once she gets that part, I can see her minutes increasing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Coach, of course, now you get a little 7-day breather here before you hit the road to start off conference play. And we talked about it a little bit in the off season, but you opened the year out in Goodland, and we've talked about that Goodland trip and that Colby trip being a tough one. But for the first time, now you get to knock them both out in one trip, where you get to go and play Fort Hays Tech on Thursday and then Colby on Saturday, but you'll stay out there, get those both knocked out. I know that's obviously going to be a tough mental trip to kind of weather the storm and weather all the the mental exhaustion that comes with going out to Goodland, but has to feel good for you and your players to we go out to we make a 10-hour trip once a year, and we're going to get it out of the way the first weekend of the year.
Oh, man. Thank you to the conference for making that happen, man. We were so excited about that, and, hopefully we can take full advantage of that, go out there and get a couple wins. And, it's a different environment out there. The altitude's different. Thank God we have enough players where we'll be able to withstand that altitude. And then have the quick turnaround to come back and play Colby on Saturday. And, today, I was surprised we had a good win last night. The team came in and worked hard today, and we started working on some sets for conference play and just some defensive strategies on conference play, and they were all receptive to it. We had a lot of energy in there. We had attention to details, and we're headed in the right direction.
Great stuff. Lady Ravens 5-0. They'll look to get a conference win to start their conference season next Thursday night against the Fort Hays Tech Tigers. Coach Tony Turner, good enough to join us. Coach, it's going to be a little weird to start the season because you're going to be out in Goodland next week, and then it's Thanksgiving. But once we hit December, we'll be finally rocking and rolling and talking to you every week. And we look forward to following another team that competes for a championship.
Well, we appreciate you guys, and thank you for the sponsors that's sponsoring this show, and and Andrew and his crew, and appreciate it. And thank y'all, and looking forward to doing this often, and come out and support the Ravens when you get a chance.
Absolutely. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. Coach Herkelman joins us coming up to talk about the men's team, their big showdown with NEO coming up on Saturday. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. We'll be right back. Show here on US 98 and the Red Raven Sports Network. I'm Shane Neal, and we've had an action-packed show for you tonight. We've talked to head coach Nick Dobler, head coach Tony Turner, and now we put a bow on it with the Hall of Famer Jay Herkelman. Coach, good to have you. How you doing?
I'm good. Had a good practice today, so things are good.
Good. I saw your assistants down in Miami last night. I know they were doing a little pregame scouting, so but obviously we'll get into that matchup with NEO.
Well, actually, they went down to support the women's.
That's right. Two birds, one stone, Coach.
Yeah, they went down there and they watched the women, and then they watched NEO play last night.
That's right. But we'll get into that matchup with NEO. It's going to be a really fun game coming up on Saturday afternoon. But, Coach, your team 3-1 to start the season, a close loss to a ranked Moberly team on the road. But we talked about it a little bit before the home opener. I think after that loss to Moberly, I think in maybe in a different team's locker room, a close loss and a game that you had a chance to win might have taken a game or two to kind of overcome that or get over that or move on from that. And I think your team's done a really nice job of bouncing back. Got the gritty win over Shawnee out in Missouri, and then came back home and have taken care of business in 2 home games.
Yeah, this team seems to have a kind of a mature way to them. And after that Moberly game, we talked about it, and I was happy with everything that happened in that game except the final outcome. I mean, we played hard. We took care of the ball against a team that presses, plays extremely hard on the defensive end. They deny entry passes, and we out-rebounded them. We played well. We just, they had a really good shooting night from the three-point line and end up winning. But it was 2 good teams going at it, and that was the disappointing part is we didn't win. But I was pleased with how we played. No doubt. And then we bounced back the next day. It's a quick turnaround. We played the late game Friday and the early game on Saturday, and Shawnee was all fired up to play us, and it was a very aggressive team early on. It took us a little bit to get adjusted to things, but once we did, we were fine.
Coach, when you play the way that this team's played through 4 games, I think one of the most impressive things about this group is there's a lot of depth to it.
Yeah.
Which 5 games into the year, 4 games into the year, I think it's rare to see this many guys contributing this early in the season. But I think something I thought preseason, something I still think now. That is maybe this team's biggest asset is the experience you have in the backcourt. You bring in Justin Taylor, a guy that's new to Coffeyville but is not new to college basketball.
Right.
A guy like Jeremiah Kemboy that has been here and is a quality defender, can handle the point if he needs to, and his scoring's gone up this year, Coach. And a guy like Brian Griffith that's been here, even a guy like Des Marshall that knows this offense and has been here for a year. The experience you have in that guard room, I think, has really given this team a head start compared to maybe some other teams in the conference and around around JUCO basketball.
I agree. I mean, Justin, he came in this summer and was around and kind of learned some stuff about how we are and how we operate and stuff. And he's just got a mature way to him. He just handles his business every day in practice. He comes in ready to go in practice. He just mentally prepared is a good way to say it, I guess. And a lot of freshmen have to learn that as many practices we have during the year to come in mentally prepared to practice. And Justin's done that. He does it every day. It's shown in his play. He's earned that starting spot. It's going to be hard to move him out of it because he is such a solid guy, and the guys follow him. He's a good leader for us. And yeah, Kemboy just had bad luck last year. He was hurt on and off all year long last year. There was always something. He never really could get in a sync of playing. And this year he's playing well. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and he is playing a lot of point guard for us. He does a good job with just running the show. He's smart. He's starting to look to shoot the ball this year where he didn't look to shoot at all last year. And then, yeah, like Brian, we've talked about Brian on a couple other shows that Brian, he's the last couple games really played well.
He has, and I'm just looking at Kemboy's numbers here, and I know 4 games is a small sample size, but Coach, he's giving you 5 points a game, 50% shooting, 38% from 3.
Yeah.
Copy paste that for the
really
next
guard.
All right.
And gets his teammates involved. He shares the ball. They love playing with him because he's not hunting up shots. He's going to move the ball to the open men, and
no doubt,
he's just a smart player.
If you get 5, 6, 7 points a game from him on that efficiency, copy paste the rest of the year.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Another guy, obviously, that you had warned Coffeyville about before the start of the season, and I think he's lived up to that hype early on. Rashid Kuda, the freshman, with Charles tweaking his shoulder in the first weekend of the year, he got a little bit, maybe ramped up a little faster than maybe he thought. But he's gone out and he's really made the most of it, averaging 14 points a game on this team, 8 rebounds, a couple blocks a game. Really, that's one of the most impressive things to me about Rashid. The flashy dunks are great, and his strength is obvious on the court, but really good rim protector for a freshman. He's it's difficult for anybody below 6'7" on an opposing team to get a shot off in the paint.
Yeah, he's just got great anticipation, and he's so quick off the floor for a big guy. And so explosive. It's fun when he gets an opportunity to dunk one around the rim. He doesn't even hesitate to think about maybe laying it in. He's going to throw it down, and that's exciting plays. That's the kind of stuff that we missed last year. We didn't have a lot of that stuff. We get it from him. We get it from Daniel. We get some from Charles. We got a group of forwards that are athletic and can finish and make exciting plays, which then generates, especially in the home games, a lot of energy from our fans. They enjoy seeing that stuff. The students enjoy seeing that kind of stuff, and it just brings up the energy level in the gym. But Rashid, every day in practice, he's just a joy to coach. He works so hard and wants to get better, and it's nice having him on our side, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I know it's only been, you hinted at it, with the great crowds at Nellis so far this year that have really been into the games. I know it's only been 2, but I'm pretty confident NEO is going to bring another good crowd on Saturday.
Yeah.
But I think, whether it be the freshmen on this team or, even the returners like Brian and Charles, what have you heard anything, or have you said anything, or have they said anything about it just feels like a different energy at the start of this year from the fans, and that goes across a multitude of sports. It feels like there's different energy for football. There's a different energy at Nellis so far this year. it really feels like these last couple months that Red Raven fans are back in full force and really just enjoying the product. And I think that's exciting for athletes and coaches.
Yeah, and it goes back to before our first game. We talked about just I called out the baseball guys on Raven Madness, and had fun with that. And the track guys were like, hey, what about us? And I'm like, yeah, show out here and have a good time. And I told our guys with what marketing was doing, with promoting the games and just the word getting out in town. I said, we got to do our part. We got to go out there and play hard and let people know that we're going to play an exciting style of play. And we did that in the first game, against Allen County. It was a very fast-paced game. We were knocking down the threes. We had dunks. But they saw how hard the guys were playing. And word of mouth on campus. I mean, the people that weren't there, they're like, hey, let me go see these guys, And then, the baseball guys, they want to turn out again. And because they were a big part of, getting Allen County rattled. And I was talking with the coach from Butler today, and he watched that Allen game because they were playing Allen after we did, and he says, you guys got the best home court advantage in the Jayhawk Conference, because he said your students turn out and they have so much fun during the games. And I mean, that's a great compliment.
It is.
For an opposing coach that's been in the league for a number of years. Eric Nitchie, he's now the head coach of Butler, but he was with Tommy DeSalm at Cowley and then at Hutch, and he's been around the league for a long time. And now he's a head coach. But for him to notice that and say that, it's just it's a compliment to our students and to our fan base.
And it's a compliment as well, considering that Butler's in that conversation too, in terms of bringing the energy at the arena. So,
but they do it for like our game and the Hutch game.
Right.
I mean, our guys do it for the most part.
Every home
night
game.
out.
Every home game. That's right. Coach, we talked about him briefly, but Charles Caparasso comes back, plays, and looked really good in the time he was out there on the floor. Like you said, he's an athletic guy. He can go up and we saw a great putback dunk he had against Cali last year. But he's that kind of player that he can have a putback at any time. He can, and what really impressed me is his quickness, his pace up and down the floor. That's going to be really. I mean, it's already hard to guard a 7-footer in this league. It's going to be even harder to guard a 7-footer that can move the way Charles moves. He got a rebound, coach, went coast to coast, beat the guards back the other way and dunked it.
Yeah, that was kind of an impressive play, because I thought at some point he's going to bounce it off his foot. But, he handled the ball and there was some traffic. But he's just playing with so much more confidence this year. He's put on 30 pounds. Just the experience that he got last year, it's carried over. He works his tail off. I mean, just every day he's in there working, trying to get better, and he's hungry to be a great player. And he's getting better every single day. The strength that he put on, though, has got to be the biggest factor for him, because last year he kind of got bounced around a little bit, and this year he can hold his own down there. And every day he's got to go against Rashid. And so those two battle each other, and I mean, it's good for us because there's not a lot of forwards in the league that are like those two guys.
That's right. Well, and you mentioned those two, and it's something I talked about with Brian Griffith and Jeremiah Kemboy too, where it's like you have Justin and Brian being defended by Kemboy every day.
Exactly.
And the same thing on the other side, where it's like we get into conference play and Jeremiah's going to be like, I've seen two of the best guards in this league. Right. I mean, I defend them every day. So I think obviously, like you said, iron sharpens iron, and in this on this team, it seems like that's the case. And another guy we kind of briefly touched on, Daniel Tomboy, a guy that's I believe 5th in the league in rebounding through the first 4 games of the year. But just another guy, coach, that with Charles, with Rashid, I mean, good luck to the forwards in this conference of just getting through 40 minutes with those guys just banging down low all night long, because it's just it feels like maybe you can slow down one of them, but something I mentioned on opening night is this Raven team just comes at you in waves. You slow down one and it feels like there's 3 more coming at you. And Daniel Tomboy is just another one of those guys where if you key in on Justin, if you key in on Trent Ruth, if you key in on Charles, Tomboy feels like one of those guys that can be the next wave to emerge.
Yeah, no question. Daniel plays with such energy. I mean, he plays hard. The game against Allen, he had 12 points, 15 rebounds. And then the other night he comes back and almost does the same thing again, 12 points, I think maybe 14 rebounds. But just has a mentality to attack the rim. He's tough. He's got a great body, strong. He is a little bit undersized, but his explosiveness allows him to be able to go play against the bigger guys, with his strength and explosiveness. So, yeah, I mean, and today we were talking about going after offensive rebounds, and we need to continue to have that mentality. And he went after one today, and it was up there. And Rashid went up there, and those two grabbed the ball, and they were on opposite teams. And they both held on to it. Neither one was giving it up. Finally, I blew the whistle. I said, it's over. And Rashid said, it's my ball. And Daniel says, I'm coming all day long. It's great. He's got that mentality, to go do that. So, yeah, those two guys. And then the other guy that plays the other forward spot with Daniel is Relia Nagulik. And he had a double-double the other night. Or was close to it. And so those four guys give us a nice mix of forwards.
No doubt they do. And, Coach, before we kind of dive into this matchup with NEO, we're going to, I'm sure, talk at length about all the guys on this team at points this year. But two guys that have really one's been a staple in this rotation, and one had a great day on Monday night as well. But Trent Ruth, a guy that we've talked about, you said came from a great school in Michigan. But I don't know if the 63% from three is going to keep up all year long. But still, I think you look at this guy shooting 50%, putting up 12 a game, and shooting 88% at the free throw line. And, Coach, I mean, anytime you have a guy that could be a threat for the 50, 40, 90 club, that's a really good offensive basketball player.
There's no question. I mean, he's just a good player, just getting better and better. When we recruited him, one of the things I told him for him to play at a high level of Division I coming out of here, he's going to have to show people he can shoot it, because in high school he didn't shoot it very good. Well, he took that to heart, and all summer and all fall he's been working on his three, and it's really showing. He's got great size. He's 6'4", being a lefty. He's got long arms, can really defend. And Justin's kind of taking him under his wing and is like a big brother to him and teaches him stuff. Those two hang out after practice all the time, shoot extra, and talk about situational stuff. And Justin, just with his experience, is a great mentor to Trent. But Trent's just another one that's just going to keep getting better and better as we go along. And he's earned that starting spot. He earned it as a freshman, and he's going to be hard to move out of that spot.
No doubt about it. And, Coach, a guy that had a really big second half on Monday, a guy that we talked to after the game, Kason Thomas.
Yeah.
Just an incredible athlete. I mean, my goodness. Former track and field star as well. But just feels like a guy that, I should have, known when I saw him at the dunk contest at Raven Madness. But just a guy that, I feel like sneak up on you with his size. And, if there's a 6'8", 6'9" forward that's not paying close enough attention, they might find themselves on a poster with a guy like that.
Yeah, and he's not afraid. I mean, he's just as you saw the other night, he caught a lob and dunked it, and he had a couple other dunks going down there, and it probably got some people's attention. It's like, whoa, because he doesn't look like he's the type that can do that, but he's really got some bounce to him. He was a high jumper in high school, and just his senior year he went out and did that. But good athlete. He just kind of caught up in the number of guards that we have. We have 6 or 7 quality guards, and just getting playing time for him. That's what we're working on right now.
Coach, this NEO game coming up on Saturday. I mean, we've talked about it before, but nationally ranked team in NEO against a team that's receiving votes in Coffeyville. But this NEO team, they have some experience. They have a tough defense. They have some great athletes on this roster. But at the same time, the Ravens have a tough defense, have some athletes on this roster, have the home court advantage. Yeah. This is going to be a great basketball game on Saturday.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be on the level like what Moberly was, and our guys answered the bell on that game on the road, first game of the year, and I think we'll play well. These guys are. As I said, he got a little mature way to them. Just even the freshmen, they like challenges, and they know we've talked about NEO and talked about how good they are and what they're doing, and so they're well informed, and I think they're going to enjoy playing the game on Saturday against a good quality team. I think it's going to be a fast-paced game. It's going to be a lot of good athletes on the floor. Should be a heck of a ball game.
Should, Coach. And obviously NEO's got a lot of talent, but two main guys that are probably at an All-American type level. Buddy Hammer Jr., their big transfer they get from Connors State, and then their point guard Jimmy James, who has great size to him, 6'5", almost 6'6", going to be a tough guard for Justin Taylor, for Trent Ruth, for some other guys like that. But what do you see from those two in particular? Because obviously you got to slow down more than just those two to beat NEO, but those two are their primary weapons.
Yeah, Hammer played at Connors last year, and that team that he was on got to the Final Four and actually put Hutch out in the Elite Eight. And Hammer had a good game in that spot, and we actually recruited him. Jake Odom had gone down to see him play, and we liked him, but he chose to stay close to home and went to Connors. It kind of surprised me that he ended up transferring to NEO, especially after the season they had at Connors last year. He's a good, smart, tough forward. He's almost 6'7", but just crafty, knows how to play, good mid-range game, posts up, got good fakes. Our forwards are going to have to be disciplined guarding him because he likes to do a lot of different fakes to get you off balance, and he attacks you, and he's explosive. He's got a good second jump. When he misses, he's right back up there trying to tip it in. So he's a good player. And then Jimma, he missed a couple games last week against Cowley and Butler, but he's back. He played last night, and he's a good player. But I think Justin, and like you said, Trent, Kemboy, I think those guys will love that challenge.
No doubt they will. Coach, as we put a bow on this one, obviously going to need quite a bit of things to be executed well to beat a team like NEO, a top 25 team in the nation. But what are 2 or 3 really key parts of the game plan that your team really needs to pull off in order to get this win on Saturday?
Yeah, they changed defenses. Jeremy's always been a 2-3 zone coach and been very good at it, but his personnel this year maybe is what led him to play more man-to-man. A lot of times over the years they've had a 7-footer or 6'10" guy, or a guy like Javarzier Belton last year play the middle of that 2-3 zone. This year they don't have that guy, so they're playing a lot more man. They're playing about 50% man, 50% zone. So just making that adjustment in the game for us, recognizing what defense they're in, what offense we need to be in, because they try to keep you off balance with that. Every once in a while they throw in these presses. Sometimes it's a run and jump trap. Sometimes it's a 1-3-1 3/4 court press, which is a little bit different type of press. So handling that stuff, and then also in their man-to-man, they're very aggressive early. And if we can just handle the ball, not turn it over, I think we'll give ourselves opportunity to go score the ball, because they're very aggressive early, but sometimes they break down with their soundness on the defensive end. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
We got a great game coming up on Saturday afternoon at Nellis Hall, the NEO Norsemen and the Coffeyville Red Ravens. Coach Jay Herkelman good enough to join us here as we end the coaches show tonight. Big thanks to Andrew and Amber with RRSN. Big thanks to Harmony back in the studio as well. I'm Shane Neal saying goodnight here from Wendy's. Big thank you to Wendy's for having us each and every week. We got a big week coming up next week. Start a conference play, Coach. Yeah. We got Coffeyville Butler for the Jayhawk title in football. So
good stuff.
Good time to be a Raven fan. No doubt about it. We'll talk to you on Saturday. I'm Shane Neal saying goodnight here on US 98.